So we had another stacked SmackDown. We finally had the faded Drew championship win, which really should have happened at WrestlePalooza, and I will constantly say that because I feel like the trend this year has been things could have gone down differently, but at least they did, which I don't think complacency is something that a rule should be be ruled by, but I think that's also why people have been super negative on the year in general, despite so many cool things happening, like this SmackDown we got here. Just in general, the SmackDown was like just super stacked. Trick Williams and Rey Fenix kind of have their match to start off the show after we had a segment basically having Randy Orton kind of school Trick Williams a little bit and kind of the hierarchy around in WWE, and it was a great kind of formative promo for both Trick Williams and just showing kind of how much Randy Orton's grown as that locker room leader and that presence, who used to be that brash, cocky guy that he probably sees himself in with Trick Williams. Just super fun segment that kind of had culminated in a super awesome match between Rey Fenix and Trick Williams. Just super fun. Trick actually does get the win here, crazily enough, with the roll-up, but grabbing the tights of Rey Fenix. It was a super fun back and forth match, showcasing both how fun Rey Fenix is and the strength and athleticism of Trick Williams as well. Super fun match, and just really great banner to start off SmackDown. Ever since the Saturday night's main event with John Cena's retirement, it has truly felt like there's been a shift to this younger generation with these past Raws and SmackDowns just in January so far, so it's been a really fun kind of road to see, and to see that the crowds are, I know we're in international waters now with in Germany, I think, for this SmackDown, so they're obviously more feverish for wrestling, since they don't get it as frequently, at least WWE, so but it's still fun to see these new talent get a lot more opportunities and to in front of crowds that are actually receptive to them. We had the Women's United States Championship match, which we had finally Julia fighting Alexa, and what I think is a profile building match for Julia, give her a legitimate superstar that, obviously the finish was obviously Myrad with like Lash Legend and Nia Jax coming out to essentially help Julia and Kiara James retain that title, but just in keeping Julia relevant and having that type of match happen shows that the U.S. title is of some importance to the superstars as well. I thought it was actually kind of a cool thing that helps forward the tag division while giving Julia and Kiara James kind of a win under Alexa Bliss that she can now kind of take with her forward, as a stronger heel. But I thought that was really fun, and actually a really positive step in the right direction now with Julia. Get her amongst a lot of these other women. I think Chelsea Green is great, but especially with how they're doing that with the heel v heel thing, like Chelsea Green is extremely entertaining, and people are going to gravitate towards her than another Japanese wrestler. I do think that kind of separating her away from that and trying to move it forward, I think, is a really good idea if you want to really strengthen Julia's character and get her more of a visceral reaction, whether it be boos or just excitement to see her, period. Also forwarding obviously the tag stuff that's happening with Lash and Nia and Alexa and Charlotte, that's going on. Next, we kind of had to keep it with the women to go forward. Jordynne Grace defeats Alba Fire, actually, of Secret Service, because as we've seen, Jordynne Grace has finally been coming up on the main roster on SmackDown, and once again, immediately post-match, after kind of destroying Alba Fire, Alba Fire is a really great wrestler and someone who's really good at making others look good. She's perfect at the position she plays. But Jordynne Grace is like just a powerhouse, looks like $1 million. Immediately contests Jade after essentially with the WWE title, and I assume that we're gonna get something with like Jade Cargill and Jordynne Grace at some point, which is super dope. I think that's a kind of a dream match that would be super fun to see, especially at this point down the line, with Jade kind of looking for viable opponents, and it doesn't seem like anyone kind of on the roster who could vie for that title is is available to do so at the moment. So someone like a Jordan Grace can be a fun first challenge for Jade Cargill to overcome, or be a crazy upset due to Jade Cargill herself being kind of a newer champion as well, you know. So totally a lot of cool things they can kind of do here. They both have spunk, they both have amazing looks, and Jordan Grace is one of the best women's wrestlers on the planet, in my opinion. So we had also the MFTs and the Wyatt Six kind of go at it again. This time MFTs kind of came up on top, which seemed to be the thread of, you know, just kind of Samoans now kind of wrecking shop right now. The MFTs essentially with the Wyatt Six kind of had a really fun kind of big bout match. All these people can go in the ring, you know, super dedicated. While I think it's cool to have that kind of like factions going after each other, I do think there needs to be kind of more I think they need to be kind of separated for a little bit as well, and kind of start terrorizing kind of their respective brands, because I think both of them being on SmackDown is a little bit too much. You know, there's no room for like other tag teams on SmackDown to really get into that, unless like, you know, they separate these two and have them feud with like the faces that exist on SmackDown. So I do hope that maybe at this point now, we kind of have maybe the MFTs go over for the titles at some point, and then they kind of separate for a little bit, or vice versa, because I do think they need to kind of start affecting the other teams a little bit. It's kind of getting, I think, a little bit stale for me. It could be a personal thing, but I feel that personally right now with the MFT White Six thing. But still a fun match, regardless. When these guys all come together, it's always super fun. They could do crazy spots. Like it's always good stuff. Speaking on the face tag teams, we had Axiom and Nation Fraser kind of, I guess, are getting into it with DIY, which as a NXT fan back in the day, this just sounds like a really fun match that I'll always kind of eat up. To finally kind of move on to that main event, the 3 Stages of Hell match was super fun. To say that, you know, Drew should have won it at WrestlePalooza, the reason I say that is because him and Cody's feud kind of extended out till now. I think it does play into, I guess, Drew's character of, you know, kind of on his terms and his time. He's going to do things when he wants to, because he essentially does bait out Cody. You know, if I guess we could look at it in the long term, he does bait out Cody essentially into then having a match on his turf at this point, by, you know, kind of baiting Cody into chasing after Drew after all this time, essentially, with, like, you know, burning the picture, you know, screwing up the tour bus, all these things. And, you know, now in this 3 Stages of Hell match, Cody did fall right into the palm of Drew. The thing is, though, with the finish being Jacob Fatu coming back, you know, to kind of on revenge for Drew, but inadvertently mucking it up for Cody, well, that is an interesting layer. I think the idea of Drew kind of, he could still escape the cage like that, and I don't think Cody necessarily looks weak in a defeat like that, or with a cage escape, you know. But I think honestly with what they did, it keeps both parties looking strong, because there's no obvious definitive really winner in the situation, since Jacob was that factor. But he was also always going to be a factor in the WWE title on SmackDown this year, granted if he didn't get injured, which once again was caused by an inferred attack by Drew. So, you know, it's kind of makes sense. Super shocking. It was a super fun, like, reminded me of like those SmackDowns back in the day, kind of with like Brock and Kurt Angle and like Cena and Michaels and stuff like that, where they'd have these matches at like these pay-per-view level matches, like just on TV, you know, a couple of weeks, you know, and you know they wouldn't do it all the time, but when they did, it was stuff like this that like was moving stuff forward. So this feels like a shot in the arm that kind of, you know, we need for 2026. We have all this new blood, and I think a hierarchy switch up with Cody kind of losing to Drew right now is super excellent. Besides obviously the rebound with Drew, I do think Drew should hold on to it for a little while and kind of, yeah, like go at it with Damian, you know, let them have kind of a WWE title match. You know, you can kind of have you know, that eventual maybe Gunther challenge, you know what I mean? You can kind of have Sheamus kind of want to go after Drew maybe in one final face kind of run for it, which I think would do super well like overseas as a main event. It's always super fun when you see the big belt really get that title change and switch, and especially for Drew, who has been wanting wanting to win it in front of fans for so long. Like, just hats off for him, and congrats to him on that, and being able to finally be able to do that. Especially, like, I unfortunately wasn't watching during that COVID era where he was kind of running in, and then he did have that main event at the PC Center essentially against Brock, which is so, like, that just sucks, man. You know, something like that you just imagine, like, that on paper in front of so many people would have been so crazy. Because, like, you watch the Rumble that he wins that year right before everything kind of shuts down, and you had crowd, huge, like, stadium pop for him winning that Rumble, eliminating, like, Lesnar, doing crazy stuff, super over as a face. And it was really his year for his, like, really main stardom ascension, you know, that top star slot, you know. And, you know, them finally acknowledging that, I think, like, especially the last couple of years, his work, I think, with CM Punk in 2024 really cemented what they thought about Drew, and you know, I think him and Punk were rewarded for those years they had, being dedicated despite not having maybe the top spots, giving it their all in the supporting character roles that they did have to tell important stories. And I think when I do see that when management sees that, they do want to then maybe put faith in these people that obviously want the whole thing to do well, so by proxy they will do well. Drew has been always one of those people, even when he came back, he could have had an easy chip on his shoulder, but he just knew that he was hot stuff and continued to work hard with everything he kind of was given, you know. And it's super awesome to see that he's the first person to not only win the new World Heavyweight title, but, you know, also win the new WWE title, that redesign essentially that happened with Roman Reigns. Super cool that he can kind of claim that, and that he's our current WWE champion, you know, and he won it, you know, I think over in Europe, and then he was able to have a house show out in Scotland with the title, and it was so, like, you know, on the go that he still had the side. I love that when they still have the side plates of the last superstar, because they can't get to a formal spot where they can change them out or get them done, because they're, like, on the road. Super cool. Just in general, really good SmackDown. The 3-hour switch for SmackDown has actually been extremely excellent. It's given longevity to it's given the matches a lot more longevity, because they're getting space to breathe and really plot out their crazy spots and do cool stuff with the amount of time now given. And, like, a lot of more things are getting focused on, and we're seeing a lot more of the divisions being built for all these titles too. So super exciting that 2026 is starting off super strong, and that, you know, it is really actually exemplifying what Cena was talking about initially in his, you know, in leaving. He wanted to ensure that we can be excited for a future worth watching, you know, when he's gone. And I think these shows have been really trying to exemplify that. So let me know what you guys kind of thought about this current SmackDown, and the fact that Drew is finally WWE Undisputed Champion in front of fans. Jacob Fatu is back, and, you know, he wants a piece of that too as well. Cody Rhodes is going to be pissed off. Who knows what's going to happen next week? I'll see you guys.